Today I will tell you the story of a poor, unemployed man who was a loser in the eyes of his wife and a worthless father in the eyes of his son. When the biggest disaster of his life hit, his closest person left him. He could not pay the rent on time. At one point, he had to roam the streets and even spend the night in public toilets with his son. He ran from one end of the city to the other to collect a little food. He even stopped at a point in his life where there was nothing to call him except a pauper who had lost everything. But later, this pauper became the richest man in America. A true story that happened in the life of a legend named Chris Gardner in the 80s. The story begins in 1981 when San Francisco resident Chris Gardner used his life savings to buy a portable bone density scanner. But his luck did not help. The machines failed miserably in the market, making it very difficult to sell them. This led to his financial situation gradually deteriorating. He lived in a rented house with his wife, Lynn, and son, Christopher. Christopher's rent and many other expenses now fell on his wife, which began to deteriorate their relationship. Although it was not Chris's or his wife's fault, Chris worked very hard. Despite struggling financially, he had to sell 4 scanners a month to make ends meet, but he could not sell a single one. One day, while Chris was on the phone to his client, a luxury car pulled up in front of him and a man got out. Chris stared at the car. He couldn't help but ask the man, "What do you do and how do you manage it?" The man pointed to a building and said, "I'm a stockbroker." As Chris looked at the building, he saw everyone leaving happily, smiling, a feeling that had almost completely disappeared from Chris's life. Chris also decided to become a stockbroker. He returned home and told his wife, "I'm thinking of quitting this job and taking another one." His wife said, "You're absolutely right. No one buys your scanners anyway." He said, "I'm thinking of becoming a stockbroker." His wife was not happy with his words. Chris's wife didn't trust him at all and started making fun of him. This hurt Chris. Then his wife decided not to stay with him and left the house with their son. This made Chris angry. He confronted his wife and said, "If you want to go, you can, but my son will stay with me," because Chris loved his son very much and knew that legally he couldn't take his son away from his wife. Meanwhile, his wife got a job in Europe, which required her to move there, and Chris got his son back. Chris hadn't paid the rent for several months. One day, the landlord came to him and said, "You haven't paid the rent. I need to paint my house. You can vacate the house." Chris says, "Give me a few more days." The owner says, "Okay, paint the house, and in exchange for that, you can stay for another week." Meanwhile, Chris is working in the stock market. He applies and has an interview the next day. That night, while he was painting his house, the police come and arrest him. He didn't pay his parking ticket or parking fee, so he is arrested. He begs the police to let him go. The police say, "We can't let you go before 10 a.m. tomorrow due to some rules." The next morning, he goes straight to his interview because he doesn't even have the bus fare. There are paint stains on his clothes. He sits outside waiting for himself. Then a girl comes and calls his name. Chris Gardner doesn't have the courage to stand up in that outfit. He thinks for a moment, then gets up and follows the girl. There is a group of people sitting there taking interviews. They are all shocked to see him because he has never worn such dirty clothes before. Didn't show up for the interview. Chris said that for the past half hour, I was trying to come up with a story about why I came here dressed like that, but I couldn't come up with any. The real truth is that the police had arrested me the night before for not paying a parking ticket. Everyone was surprised to hear this because they were all established people and paying a parking ticket was a very small matter for them. They started questioning Chris. They asked him how far he had studied. Chris said that he was in 12th grade and was first in his class. Then they asked him how many students were in his class. Chris said that there were 8 of them, and everyone started looking at each other because being first out of 8 students was not a big deal. Chris says that he was also the first in the Navy, and there were 21 people there. No one believes Chris. He almost failed the interview. Before Chris announces his decision, he tells everyone, "I want to tell you something. If someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I will say clearly that I don't know the answer, but I can bet you one thing. I know how to find out the answer, and I will find out." This affects everyone a little. Now, the oldest person here says to Chris, "If someone comes to me for an interview without a shirt on, I will give them the job." "What for?" Chris says that maybe he is wearing a nice pair of pants. Everyone starts laughing at this because it is a great answer. Then Chris is chosen. There is a guy named Jack on the panel who Chris already knows. He tells Jack that he will think about it and let him know whether he will join the intensive training or not. He's surprised to hear this. He tells Chris that for the past few days, you have been trying like crazy to get me this job, and today, when you are selected, you say that you will think about it and let me know. Chris says, "I didn't know it was an internship. My financial situation is not good at the moment. Actually, it is an internship where 20 people are selected and they will be trained for 6 months, and after 6 months, only one of these 20 will get the job." So Chris is completely in doubt whether he should join this job or not. He says that you have time till tomorrow morning. If you don't answer me by morning, I will hire hire someone else in your place. Chris goes back home and decides to join the internship. He joins an intensive training. He also sells his scanners and earns enough money to cover his budget for 6 months. He changes his house and starts living in a small house with his son. One evening, after returning home from work, he receives a letter from the bank saying that the government has confiscated all the money in his bank due to non-payment of taxes. This incident changes Chris's entire world. He has no other way to earn money. He calls the government, but to no avail. A few more days pass, but he can't even pay the rent. One night, when he returns home with his son, he finds that his belongings are gone. He doesn't know where to go. He has his son, his belongings, and a pocket. He has no money, so he goes to a friend who once borrowed a few dollars from him. He knocks on his door and asks for the money back, but his friend refuses to give it to him. Chris is now completely desperate. With him is his young son. He doesn't know what to do. He takes his belongings and son to the metro station, wondering where to go. He has no home, no money. His son Christopher asks him where he is going. Chris says, "I don't know." He says he has nowhere to go. Then Chris has an idea. He plays a game with his son, asking him to imagine different things. His son also started playing with him, and as he played, he took him to the subway toilet and closed the door. He sat down and hugged his son by the arm. He knew he would have to spend the night in that toilet, even though he had been there many times before. People knocked on the door from outside, but Chris did not open the door. Tears welled up in his eyes. Chris had never felt so helpless in his life. The next morning, he dropped his son off at school and went to work. After work, he picked him up from school and went to a church to seek shelter, but was told that the church was only for women and children. Chris loved his son so much that he did not want to leave him alone. He went to another church where he found a place, but if he wanted to be there every day, he had to be on time. Only the first few in line got shelter, while the others did not because the space was limited. Chris's real struggle began. He has to work until 7 p.m., but he decides that he will only work until 5 p.m. He refuses to drink water all day because drinking water will make him have to go to the bathroom, which will waste time, and he won't be able to finish his work by 5 p.m. He keeps working all day. Chris's days pass quickly. He works, sends his son to school, and then stands in line again for church. He still has a screener, which he hopes to sell for some money. Chris takes the bonus scanner he has with him and goes to a doctor in a hospital. The doctor wants to buy the scanner, but when Chris shows the demo, the machine does not work, which breaks Chris's heart because he has completely run out of money now. He comes back and checks the machine at night. He finds that a part of it is broken, and he does not have the money to buy that part. Chris goes to a hospital where he has to sell his blood. Then he gets some money, and with that money, he has to buy the broken part of the machine. When he comes back, he installs the part in the machine. It works, which makes him very happy. Now he sells the machine and earns some money. Today, he does not go to church with his son. He has rented a nice house where they both spend the night. They watch TV after a long time and sleep there at night. Chris is working very hard. He calls all day and meets people in person. When he comes back, he also studies because his exams are coming up. In fact, there is a theory exam for this job that is very important to pass. The other 19 people with Chris are all highly educated. Is Chris the only one who has only passed 12th standard? On the night of the exam, Chris has prepared very well, which is why he is the first to leave after passing the exam. There is another intern who has taken the exam and gets on the same elevator with him. When they talk about the exam, the man asks again, "How was your exam?" Chris says everything was easy. Now the day comes when the exam results will be announced, where one out of all these people will be selected for the job. One by one, everyone is called. And when he is called, all the people who interviewed him first are there. The most senior person says, "You are wearing a very nice shirt today." Chris says, "Today is my last day here. I thought, how about wearing a nice shirt?" He says, "If you have to wear this shirt tomorrow too, would you want to wear it?" Hearing this, Chris's eyes fill with tears because he has been struggling a lot for the last 6 months, which no one knows about. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't even have enough money to eat. Along with that, he doesn't have any money for his son. It is a responsibility, Chris says. Yes, that means Chris got the job. Whose senior here asks him, "Was it easy, Chris?" Chris says, "It wasn't easy for me at all." And now everything is fine in Chris's life. And at the end of this story, we are shown that Chris is leaving with his son, and then a man walks out from there. And this is the real Chris Gardner, on whom this whole story, this whole movie is based. After a few years, Chris quits his job and opens his own company, which he later becomes the owner of millions of dollars. Today, Chris is a very rich man. Besides this, he is also a motivational speaker and inspires people in life so that people like him can also be successful in life. So this was the complete story of the video. We hope you liked this story.